What up, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of NFC Beast. This is the only show tackling the topics that matter most to the fan bases in the NFC East. And we got our star-studded crew again today in New York, I should say. Lou Albanese is in the building. In Dallas, Jeff Kolb is up for quarterback. And in Philadelphia, Breland Moore. So much to talk about this week in the NFC East. We're going to talk about the Giants' massive meltdown. We will talk about Jaden Daniels' big injury and the Philadelphia Eagles potentially getting it right on offense. But, Jeff, we're starting with you in Dallas. How about them Cowboys as Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys hand the Commanders a 44-22 loss? Are Dallas once again contenders in the East, Jeff?
I'm not sure I want to give a full yes on this yet, Chad, but they're close. I still don't trust this defense, but Dak Prescott, I think, is the best quarterback in this division at the moment. I know my friend in Philadelphia might argue that Jalen Hurts is kind of back after what we saw last week, but Dak Prescott, 4 straight games with 3 touchdowns, no turnovers. That's only been accomplished by, I believe, 5 other quarterbacks ever. You know, Patrick Mahomes has never done that. So Dak Prescott is playing at a really elite level and now has CeeDee Lamb back in the mix with George Pickens, who really thrived during that time while Lamb was out. The Cowboys really feel like that has opened up more variability for Pickens in the offense. So this offense is already number 1 in the league, and the feeling is that there is even more upside still to be had for this unit.
I happen to agree with you, Jeff. I believe that this Dallas offense has the potential to carry them all the way, not only to the NFC East, but even further than that in the playoffs. Lou, what do you say?
It's hard to win without defense, though. Defense is still the way you win the playoffs. But, yes, they had the best offense, no doubt about it. Their defense, though, shaky. Let's face it, Washington was playing without the 3 top receivers, and Daniels got hurt. So I'm not going to start saying how the great job. They still put up 20-something points. But their offense, best in the division.
Breland, you all are always the hunted. Can Dallas catch you?
I'm not sure. It depends. And I'm with Lou. He kind of stole the words right out of my mouth there. I find it hard to be impressed. Now, not with the offensive side of the ball. I think Dak Prescott is playing extremely well. We've talked about that over the past couple of weeks. But that defense giving up a season-low 22 points is not really impressive to me when you're missing Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin and Deebo Samuel and Noah Brown. I mean, you have no weapons there, and Marcus Mariota in for a good portion of that game. I'd like to see them do the same thing this week. You have a really, really talented Denver team coming up next on the schedule. And so if they can piece together another effort like that, then we'll talk. But right now, I'm not entirely convinced.
Okay, listen. I hear what all of you are saying. I hear you. Jeff, I'm going to take what you said. I'm going to double down on it. Now, it is obvious that this defense has issues, arguably the worst defense in all of the NFL. I think this defense is going to begin to come around, Jeff, as a couple of your players start returning who have been injured. But even more than that, this offense, with the addition of CeeDee Lamb, is going to put up 30-plus points every single ball game. They might not be able to stop a cold from coming into Dallas, but that offense is going to make it extraordinarily hard for teams to score with them. I think that Dallas with Dak Prescott outscores teams, and that leads them to the rise. Jeff, you got the final word.
Yeah, you mentioned some guys coming back. I think the big one right now for this Dallas defense is DeMarvion Overshown. Had a really brutal injury to his knee last year. Tore 3 different ligaments, but he has made a really fast recovery, all things considering. And so I think that, obviously you can't replace Micah Parsons, but if they can get a guy like Agent Zero back who can create some more pass rush and sort of shore up the middle of that defense, and they've got some guys in the secondary too that are working their way back, I think this defense can get better, and defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus is making adjustments. He's playing more man coverage. That seemed to lead to some more success against Washington, albeit again, Washington was a depleted offense. But I think this defense is trending in the right direction. I still think Jerry Jones should go out and acquire somebody to help bolster that unit, though.
Yeah, we know that there were rumors that there are talks about Max Crosby flying around, but we'll see whether any of that comes to fruition. All right, we'll move to you, Lou, because the New York Giants, I tell you what, they were on the verge of leading this show and every show in the NFL had they held on to that lead over the Denver Broncos on Sunday. For 3 quarters, absolutely shut them out. Jackson Dart looking good. Everybody's looking amazing. And then the bottom fell out. Lou, after that result, are you more high on those first 3 quarters or low on that fourth quarter collapse?
I would say both. How about that? I really like what I saw offensively, how they moved the ball against a really good Denver defense, and then they collapsed. And remember, they also collapsed against Dallas.
Yeah.
And a lot of it has to do with play calling. They play too conservative. They stop attacking. They stop changing the way they play. I know Jackson Dart fell on his sword and said about the whole interception, but that was all defensive problems, and I think it's a coaching problem.
Breland, you again know what it takes to be a champion, this Giant squad. Are there any moral victories for the way that they played Denver?
I don't think so. This is the National Football League. This isn't a Pee Wee League championship where you get moral victories. It's the NFL, okay? And when you give up, that set a record in the NFL. No team has ever shut out a team for 3 quarters and then given up that amount of points. That is unacceptable. I don't care what your record is. I don't care if you expect it to be good or not. It was just a complete defensive meltdown, as Lou just said. And yeah, Jackson Dart, credit to him again, 283 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's great. And I don't think he needs to fall on the sword. As a quarterback, he does, but it was not his fault. That defense was shameful. And I think Lou is absolutely correct. That's a coaching issue.
Yeah, Jeff, to be exact, 33 points scored on them in the fourth quarter of this game. I will say in the Giants' defense, if there is any defense of that defense, starting cornerback out, starting safety out at that point in time. So they had some injuries over there as Denver kind of got rolling.
Yeah, I still think, though, that this is about the collapse. And for me, it's not a Jackson Dart issue. I think we've seen enough in a small sample size here to be excited about Jackson Dart and what, some coach could do with that type of quarterback. I'm just not sure still that Brian Daboll is the guy. And, Lou kind of said it, with the lack of aggressiveness in that fourth quarter when you're up by so many points. I had to go back and sort of look at the play chart, the play list, and first of all, the first touchdown in that fourth quarter for the Giants was very lucky. It bounces right to Theo Johnson, and he takes it in. And then the next 2 drives after that, you don't pick up a first down, and you run it on first and second down both times. That puts Dart in a really bad situation. Obvious passing yard on third down. One play, it's intercepted. The other time, you wind up punting. So I still don't believe very strongly that Daboll is the guy for the Giants, even with Jackson Dart. As much as he seems to love Jackson Dart and kiss Jackson Dart after wins, I'm not concerned or convinced that Brian Daboll is the guy.
Lou, briefly, it feels like in the national media, I want to know the take in New York, it's kind of glossed over that 2 extra points were missed in this game for the New York Giants as well, and a failed 2-point conversion. Obviously, I'm not a math major, but you put it all together, and that's the difference between a win and a loss.
Always is. I mean, the Giants, Graham Gano's always good for an injury, and the Giants are always good for not finding the right kicker. They just find the worst guy. This guy from Rutgers, I don't know where they found him in the Beer League. What are we doing here? I mean, come on. It's ridiculous. I mean, they had the kid from Atlanta, Koo. They wanted to have him kick. They picked this guy, and they earned it. Another Daboll move. I'm sorry, the coaching staff, another disaster. And it isn't shameful. It's shameful because of Shane Bowen.
Wow. Wow. That's a bar right there, Lou. We'll definitely be sure to clip that one and put it out on social media. Moving from shameful to disdainful, and those are the feelings here in the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. Jaden Daniels now ruled out for Monday night's matchup with the Kansas City Chiefs. In that loss to Dallas, they fall under 500 on the year, and I'm going to go ahead and jump the shark. I think that they could be on their way to losing 5 consecutive games. So, Breland, since I know you love the burgundy and gold, are the playoff hopes for the Washington Commanders over?
No, I think that's super overreactionary. We don't know exactly how long Jaden Daniels is going to be out here. Now, the last I heard that it wasn't a significant injury. Yes, he's going to miss this game against the Chiefs, which respectfully, Chad, I'm sorry, they were going to lose that game anyway in my eyes. So I wasn't really concerned about that one in particular. But if he's not out a long time and he can manage to stay healthy, I think they'll be just fine. Terry McLaurin is practicing in full. So is Debo this week. So I think you're jumping the ship a little bit just yet. And the Cowboys, like I said, they're still unproven in my eyes in terms of stringing together great defensive games. So I think you're just fine.
Okay, all right. Maybe I'm getting a little emotional about this. Breland made me feel a little better. Jeff, what do you say?
First of all, Marcus Mariota, right? He filled in twice earlier in the season, went 1-1. So when you look at backup quarterbacks in the league, this is a guy who's probably towards that top end as far as what you'd want out of a backup. So there's some hope there. I'm with Breland. I wouldn't write off Washington yet. You get those receivers back. That makes a huge difference to get Terry McLaurin and Debo back in the mix. You lost Austin Eckler earlier in the year, and you guys are still running the ball well in Washington. So that's very reassuring. My biggest concern with Washington is the defense. And usually we see Dan Quinn's teams have, good defense, but it doesn't feel like they're creating a lot of turnovers. Just leading into the matchup here in Dallas last week, you're reading about, the horrible missed tackle issues and the explosive plays they're giving up. I think they need to shore up that defense. But if they can do that and they get Jaden Daniels back, I definitely think with the way we've seen this division, not exactly light the world on fire, that Washington could still very easily find the postseason.
Bottom two in the NFL in that turnover ratio. Lou, are the Commanders dead?
Dead, no, but I agree with Jeff. Until they get that defense set up, they got to fix that defense. It doesn't matter what Daniels does. They got to fix that defense. Simple as that.
As we take a look at the next 3 games for the Washington Commanders, it's at Kansas City on Monday night, got Seattle at home after that, Detroit at home after that. This is one hellacious stretch that this squad is going through without potentially Jaden Daniels at 100%. Not sure yet when Terry McLaurin is coming back. Debo Samuel, even if he does play with that heel, how effective will he be? And that defense, which hasn't played well since a matchup with the Las Vegas Raiders. It's not over yet for the Commanders, but I spoke with a fan this weekend who said that they're going to need a miracle, and I think that a miracle is indeed what this team will need. But moving on now to the Philadelphia Eagles, whom again we were ready to write off Breland until not only did your team get another huge victory out there in Minnesota, but you found your passing game. Both A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith go well over 100 yards. So is it now time to be back to the city of brotherly love? Happy days in Philly.
I don't think we're going to write them off, right? They're still the defending Super Bowl champions. So that's number one. Number two, I still think this offense has a lot of problems. Jalen Hurts played one of the best games of his career, 326 yards for him, perfect passer rating, 3 scores as well. But guys, number one, once again, I've pointed this out multiple weeks in a row now, the offensive line banged up again. Cam Jurgens is out, and Brett Toth came in, and I've got to tell you that the discrepancy, you can see the difference between those two. And so that's a big concern. That's also part of the reason why I don't think Saquon is necessarily having the numbers that he's having. But guys, there's some unacceptable things going on. This 3rd and long situation that the Eagles consistently find themselves in, they were 3 of 10 on 3rd down. You can't have that type of conversion, okay? And also they only had 1 trip to the red zone. You gotta just shore things up here. Now, 21 points, great, but also, your defense really helped you out there with that Jalix Hunt pick 6. I'm starting to now look 100% at Kevin Patullo, the offensive coordinator here, with a little bit of a side eye, because if your quarterback has a perfect passer rating and you still looked a little suspect, that's now a coaching issue. So I definitely think there needs to be a little bit more eyes on Kevin Patullo.
Lou, got to figure that one of the reasons why that offense is not at 100 right now is because Saquon Barkley is averaging 3.4 per carry. I don't even know that he did that in New York.
No, he didn't do that in New York. That's the crazy part. And they had a horrible offensive line. The problem with their line problems, and I totally agree with that, one thing about the Giants who they're playing this week, they got a really good pass rush, and that's going to be a problem. He's not going to be able to throw as easily as he did last week. And if Saquon doesn't start running the ball better, if they can't start getting a running game going, and they start teeing off on Hurts, that offense is a problem. But Tulu, I'm telling you, got to be on the hot seat.
And beyond that, Jeff, and we'll have Breland weigh in on this as well, A.J. Brown, despite his big game, that didn't keep him off of Twitter or X or whatever it is that you call it, as he had another cryptic message there. So, is everything okay in Philly?
Yeah, it feels like we're talking about A.J. Brown and things on social media and off-field stuff a little bit too much, especially, you had the big numbers. We don't see Saquon, with his, 3.3 yards per carry down from 5.8 last year. He's not putting out cryptic things about the offensive line, so why is A.J. Brown? And I just have to slide in here, too, maybe the biggest issue out of this Vikings game was, did Minnesota just put on tape a way to possibly stop the tush push?
Woo!
Because, just as if things couldn't have gotten worse for this Philly offense, with the run game, it's now, what about this tush push? Can we stop it with putting that guy just right down there on the line of scrimmage?
Last word for you, Breland. Again, I don't have it in front of me, but I know that A.J. Brown, that he tweeted out something to the extent of, you're using me but not using me. It sounded like a love poem. I got to be honest with you. Is this reason for concern?
Well, first of all, I want to weigh in on what Jeff said there about the tush push. They lined that guy up sideways, but the Eagles still got the first down. So I don't really know if that's an effective way, considering they still got it. Neither here nor there. I think A.J. Brown needs to really have a come to Jesus moment on this, because it's a really weird dynamic. He'll put out these cryptic things, and there was no reason for that. Everyone is celebrating the fact that Brandon Graham is coming back for his 16th season in the NFL. He's got more in the tank, and there was no reason for a fuel to the fire there, and yet here goes A.J. Brown again, stirring up the media machine, and then he looks back and he's like, I didn't mean to do anything. What are you talking about? The locker room needs to get under control in terms of that, and honestly, I think that might be part of the reason why you're seeing Brandon Graham come back here, because you notice that really wasn't a thing last year, was it, with Brandon Graham in that locker room? So we'll see.
That's right. Philadelphia Eagles got to get that locker room right. I say A.J. Brown, keep tweeting. Gives us all sorts of things to talk about right here
Please
on
don't.
NFC Beast. Coming up, we're going to talk about Russell Wilson as he claps back, and a little bit of Terry McLaurin. Is he the reason that this Commanders season has gone south? All that and more next on The Beast. Welcome back to NFC Beast. I want to revisit that New York Giants versus Denver game from last week, because there were fireworks in the post-game presser, as well as we heard from Sean Payton take a bit of a veiled shot at Russell Wilson, saying that Jackson Dart gave them a spark, that he was hoping that they would go to that after they played the Broncos. Russell Wilson actually clapped back on social media. Lou, he tweeted out there that it was classless but not surprised. Didn't realize you're still bounty hunting 15 plus years later. Do you want to see Russ cooking, or should he simmer down?
No, I love that. Listen, what else does Russ have to do other than say that? I mean, he's not playing, so you might as well clap back. I mean, listen, we all know those two guys hate each other. The bounty hunter hates Russell Wilson. He's hated him all the time he was there. Russell needs to get back at him, and Sean couldn't wait to say those things. And by the way, he's probably right.
Jeff, how'd that feel in Dallas?
I mean, I think that Sean Payton is right. You know, of course you'd rather face Russell Wilson than Jackson Dart, the way Dart's playing right now. But I think it was messy. I don't think it was necessary. But I also don't think I'm surprised to see Sean Payton get a little bit messy with those types of comments.
Breland, I actually love this from Russell Wilson. I mean, you look at Russ, I don't know that there's a single individual in the NFL that takes as many shots at Russell Wilson for seemingly no actual reason at all. It felt good for me to see a purely authentic moment from a man who typically plays it as vanilla as possible.
Maybe that's just the Philadelphia in me, because we're like kind of rough and abrasive, and I say that in the most complimentary way about my city. I don't really see the shot. I mean, like, I guess, sure, but it's a soft shot. Like, is he wrong that the Giants have a spark now with Jackson Dart? Not at all. I mean, it is what it is. Russell Wilson was stinking it up there. Maybe if you played a little bit better, you'd have some ground to stand on, but you didn't. So it is what it is. I don't necessarily see that as like some sort of insane shot at him. He's telling the truth. The Giants got a spark. He wished it would have happened after the Broncos game, probably to make it a little easier on the Broncos. Like, I don't really see the absolute vitriol that I think people are making this out to be. And for Russell Wilson to escalate it, I think is more on him than it is on Sean Payton, because it's noticed. We have seen the Giants have a spark. He's not wrong.
All right. Well, we are going to take Breland Moore off of Sierra's Christmas card. You won't be getting one from the Russell Wilson family, Breland. But moving on.
No, Sierra.
Terry McLaurin and the Washington Commanders. We know that Terry McLaurin held out during that preseason as he was looking for a contract. Now, after playing just 2 games this season, McLaurin has been out ever since, and this offense has struggled from there. So, Lou, when you look at a player like Terry McLaurin, who is clearly so important to this Commanders team and offense, not just last year, but for generations, was it his holdout that's really been the impetus to this downfall of the Commanders?
Listen, he's not the first guy to have a holdout and get hurt. It happens a lot. You know, I'm always concerned by that. You know, they play these hold-ins and guys stay on the sidelines. They don't want to practice. It's never good, and you see it all the time. And yes, he is the biggest reason, because Jaden Daniels and him had a great rapport. And once he was out, Daniels was not the same quarterback. And with that defense, you need Daniels McLaurin because you need a big offense. So, yes, I'm going to point to that and say the holdout was the reason.
Yeah, and Breland, I think that obviously, like Lou said, whenever you have these holdouts, there is a high probability for soft tissue injuries like the one that we're seeing here. But is it McLaurin with the holdout, or should Adam Peters and the Commanders have made sure that they got him to the table to get this done before the season started?
First of all, I don't buy that the Commanders are out of contention. We've already talked about that, so that's number one. Number two, I also don't buy that it's completely Terry McLaurin's fault. Jaden Daniels also cannot stay healthy, and again, that's not necessarily his fault either, but the Commanders have a bunch of different issues going on there that to put the blame solely on one person is a little egregious to me. You've got a lot of different things going on there, and I don't necessarily think that right there is the sole reason for what's going on here.
And Jeff, you've seen in Dallas, you all were able to play without a CD Lamb and still be effective. Large reason for that was George Pickens, though. The Commanders, no such secondary weapon. So Terry McLaurin not being in the lineup, let's not say they're done, but is that the reason for the offensive struggles?
Well, yeah, I think it's a huge reason. And my big thing on this is let's not blame Terry McLaurin. You know, we've seen these situations play out in Dallas, it seems like every year, where Jerry Jones and the front office here let one of these contracts go all the way down to the wire. You know, with Dak Prescott, it was the day of the opener last year that they got his extension done that morning. And so, and CeeDee Lamb was in a situation like that last training camp, and he got off to a really slow start, even though he didn't get injured. And so Put this back on the team. I mean, if Terry McLaurin is the #1 playmaker, like, a huge part of your offense with Jaden Daniels, don't let him miss training camp. Get that deal done early. I put that on the Washington front office.
All right, those are our opinions on that one as well. Coming up, we are going to tell you, and especially you, whether your team will win their matchup this weekend. That's next on The Beast. Few huge games to break down this week in the NFC East, and we're going to do that right here on the NFC Beast. Jeff, we're coming to you first. Dallas Cowboys seemingly flying high. They're headed to Denver to play that tough defense. Who wins?
Yeah, so Dak Prescott is, as we said, probably the best quarterback going in the division right now. This offense is #1 in the league. Here's the issue. The Cowboys have not won in Denver since 1992. They've lost 3 straight times there. And this Broncos team, Breland saw this with Philadelphia. They just keep coming back and coming back. So I don't trust this Dallas defense enough to hold off the comeback. I'll go with Denver over the Cowboys.
Denver coming off of that huge comeback win against the New York Giants. Dallas flying high. I will one-up you. I will say that Dak Prescott is not only the best quarterback in the NFC East, right now he's the best quarterback in the NFL. Dallas Cowboys win this game 42-30 over the Denver Broncos. Breland, tell me why I'm wrong.
Yeah, you're wrong. I think so. But you know what? Clip this just in case you're right. I agree with Jeff. I think the Denver Broncos are a great football team. They're very sneaky as well, and you have to play a full 4 quarters of really tough football against them because, as we see, they love a good comeback victory. So I'm going to go Denver here.
Lou.
Denver. Denver's defense is too good. Cowboys, as good an offense as that is, they'll keep him in check, and I still have no faith in the Cowboys defense.
All right, guys, I will be sure to remind each and every one of you of this coming up next week. We'll turn the page now and talk about Washington at Kansas City. Jeff, do the Commanders have a chance?
Yeah, there's a chance. Kansas City obviously had its stumbles early on, but the way the Chiefs are playing now, doesn't feel like a very big chance. I'm going Kansas City.
And unfortunately, to my DMV folks, I'm going to go with Kansas City as well. Rashee Rice back playing outstanding offense. This Kansas City Chiefs team is rolling over 30 points in 3 consecutive games. I say Kansas City wins this game by a final score of 35-21. Lou, what do you say?
I'm saying that you guys say that there's a chance. I'll say there's no chance. None. 0. I don't even think it's going to be close. I think that's going to be like I wouldn't be surprised if it's 40-14.
Woo! 40-14, Breland.
And the
Make
14
me feel
came
better.
in garbage time.
Goodness gracious.
How am I supposed to make you feel better when you picked against your own team, Chad? I'm going to go Chiefs as well. Marcus Mariota against that Chiefs team is it's just a mismatch there. And as you mentioned, Rashee Rice is back, and they shut out the Raiders last week. So, yeah, it's Kansas City.
I do believe that Joe Witt Jr.'s defense is going to play one of their better games of the season coming up against Kansas City, but with not much going on the offensive side, it won't be enough. Kansas City wins this game going away. All right, our game within the NFC East, New York returning to Philly. Lou, can the Giants do it again?
Oh, man. I think it's going to be close, but this is the game for the Eagles. This will be the first time someone has seen Scatterboo and Dart twice. And I'm very interested to see how they go about it. Now that they faced him, they saw how they played. I think the Eagles are going to win. It's going to be a close game. Offensive line problems for the Eagles is going to be a problem with the Giants' pass rush. And I do think Dart's going to put points on the board, but I'm giving the Eagles, only because they lost the first matchup, they're going to give them maybe a 7-point win.
Jeff.
I like the Giants to get it again, and it's for one reason. Lou just pointed out, we love to look at these playmakers, but you win these games at the line of scrimmage. And if that Giants front can get after a depleted Eagles offensive line, then I don't think Jalen Hurts is throwing for another 300 yards and putting his top two receivers over 100 yards apiece. And as we've seen, Saquon's not, running the ball effectively behind that line. So I like the Eagles. I think they can get it done. Or I like the Giants, rather. I think they can get it done over the Eagles, who really aren't dominating anything right now.
Breland, I think Jeff is right. I think it will come down to that line play, but I think it comes down to big number 98 being in the game this week. I think that Jalen Carter is the difference, and the Eagles win this one.
Absolutely. Last time around, no Jalen Carter, no Landon Dickerson either, which he's a Pro Bowl guard as well. So I think those two makes a difference. Also, Quinyon Mitchell, our cornerback, was out as well in that Giants game. He left midway through the game. So I think those three will make a difference. However, I am concerned about that CB2 spot. Adoree Jackson is hurt, and there's not much depth behind him. So that might be a little bit of an issue. But I think with those three difference makers in the game and healthy, I'm going to go Birds.
All right, that's going to do it for this episode of NFC Beast. Be sure to check us out this week, next week, and every week right here on Fox Local.